Hello everyone once again. We have Fable over here for watching PancreasNoWork's video. For once. Yeah. We know how much you like Fable, so we brought him here. Against his will.
Nuh-uh. Where's all my money, guys? I'm poor. I have to eat bricks and cat food, and we don't have a cat. It's horrifying.
Oh my god. Anyway, as we shove off, remember to do all those things so that you can support us and we can keep doing the things you like. Anyway.
And we're out of rainwater, all froze.
Oh my god.
Horrible.
Fable keeps going on about how crazy his life is. Meanwhile, I'm freezing and have to work every day with,
Yeah.
I would say less 8 to 9, or 9 to 5 and more 8 to 5 is what I do. Sometimes even quite longer.
I'm starving and in pain, and all
I'm-
Mac cares about is himself right
Oh
now.
my god! My working condition. All I want to say by meant that is my working condition is not great and I do not like my workplace. Anyway, we will learn about this. Go!
Been around, hasn't it?
See what I
Lord
mean?
knows I'm not complaining. Spreading democracy has never been this fun. You gotta
Yeah.
defend humanity from
It's
these
a very
horrible
fun
alien
game. I
threats,
recommend
no
it.
matter the cost. But you know, as much fun as it is, they weren't here first. And
True.
pretty much everyone has realized this, because for once there's no one using an exclusive to say my console is best, and instead everyone's been asking for Xbox players to get in on the fun. Because my fellow...
Yeah, this was happening around that time. I kind of love that literally everyone was asking for the Xbox players to be allowed to join in. It was kind of very wholesome. In a way, you know?
Yeah.
It was so very sweet. I was so very proud of the community. It's just sometimes nice to see when that happens, you know?
Xbox 360 owners know what it's like to plummet out of orbit from a pod into a horde of aliens
Well,
trying to kill
once
you.
they did.
When all you got is your weapon, your instincts, and maybe if you're lucky, your squad mates. Before we had
True.
galactically manifested democracy, we had the brave men and women of the
ODSTs.
ODSTs dropping into the fiercest of fights that no one else could.
Me and
getting
Fable
the
played
job
this.
done no matter the odds. Eventually, this became playing second fiddle to a whole bunch of the world's most destructive children, which you better believe gave them some pretty bruised egos.
Yeah.
But I get ahead of myself. Allow me to tell you the history of the ODSTs, the bravest soldiers humanity has to offer that they didn't steal from an orphanage to make. And on the subject of ODSTs, there's got to be some pretty good science behind them, right? I mean, come on now, they fall out of orbit onto their target. If someone didn't know exactly what they were doing when they designed that, all you'd get is a pancake trooper. Someone
True.
intelligent had to figure out how to design that process to make it safe. And if you too would
going
like to
to
be
an
someone
ad?
intelligent, you can do no better than
Yeah,
Brilliant, the
there
sponsor
we
of
go.
today's video. Brilliant is where you go to learn math, data analysis,
Fable, we can't hear
programming,
you.
and more with thousands upon thousands of interactive lessons.
I'm going to sleep. This
So
ad got me
you
sleepy.
aren't just
Oh my
mindlessly
God.
repeating information onto a test like the world's most
Like
bored
I'm alive.
parrot. With fun lessons you can do whenever you want, it's perfect for whatever your life situation is like. Be you busy 15 hours of the day or have all the time in the world, Brilliant can help you learn what you want when you want
Alrighty,
it. You ever
Papa.
sit there through a course in school and could not focus no matter how hard you tried? I have. Hell, I've been on the other end of that, trying to teach kids who couldn't want to be there any less. I promise you it's just as awkward
he
for
was
the
a
teacher as it
teacher.
is for you when they call on you and you can't provide an answer to save your life. But Brilliant is fun,
Yeah.
engaging, and actually interesting.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. A neat
Oh,
first
yeah.
course to try for you could be programming with Python. I was never much for coding, but I know people who are, and they've done quite well from it. And regardless, coding is one of those skills you can do quite a bit with. Can't hurt
Yeah.
to learn. And to make sure you have some more incentive to learn, savings.
I wish I
Using my link
knew
in
how
the
to code
description and
better.
pinned comment, you can
I
not
only know
get
how
a
to code in
30-day
C++
free trial, but 20% off your
and
annual
barely
plan.
at that.
That's http://brilliant.org/PancreasNoWork for a 30-day
Don't ask
free
me to
trial
code
and
for
20%
you,
off the annual
please.
plan. Knowledge is something that can't be priced, and you can get it here at a discount. So try Brilliant today and start learning now. Now then, let's jump feet first into hell. The ODSTs in Halo, which for the uninitiated stands for Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, have their origins well before
That
the
I did
actual
not know.
ODSTs were formed. In the year 2129, the whole concept of them was created. Paratroopers on Earth had proven effective before, since dropping a whole bunch of people out of the sky on top of their objective can be a handy trick to pull off. So some absolute paragons of brilliance thought, what if that, but from space? And in 2163, they were officially formed, just in time for a whole lot of war to break out. Around this time in Halo lore, humanity had been expanding across the solar system, and rather unfortunately,
Okay.
some blasts from the past came back for round 2. Communist and fascist factions gained power and went to war with the UNSC, and the ODSTs were faced with humanity's greatest challenge yet. And they performed quite admirably, largely being deployed on Mars against the neo-communist forces and helping deal with the interplanetary wars on that front. Immediately after this, though, Halo pulls a bit of a 40k time skip here, because for about 300-odd years, the ODSTs didn't really do anything and sort of languished as a fighting force. Humanity was both in its golden age and facing numerous existential problems that weren't the kind of ones you could deal with by having a big army. On the one hand, the slip space drive being created meant that the whole damn galaxy was now ripe for colonization. On the other hand, Earth was heavily overpopulated, famine was a massive problem, and given that the interplanetary wars were over, the UNSC now had a massive military with not a lot to throw it at. Priorities were switched up, money thrown elsewhere, and the ODSTs were left by the wayside.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With, and they were still almost certainly better equipped and trained than the average soldier by virtue of them being a special forces organization, but plain and simple, the UNSC just didn't really have anything for them to do. Until jump cut, the year 2490, the United Earth government was now facing its new crisis, the insurrection. Turns out when you're 800 light years away from Earth, you might not be super keen on paying Earth taxes or following Earth laws and rules.
Of course.
Earth, meanwhile, was quite keen on getting those outer colony taxes. This led to civil unrest, which over the years turned into an unofficial civil war between the UEG and the rebelling colonists, given the catch-all term of the insurrection, despite not all of these groups being affiliated with each other. A quick detour here, but the Orion Project had been one of the many things the UNSC and ONI came up with to deal with this problem.
Oh, this is the thing you told me about, Fable. Stop eating your spaghetti.
Yeah, the Orion No. The Orion Project was originally supposed to be a super soldier, like a super soldier program. Most of the people that did it, I think, went insane, sadly. Yeah.
Wasn't Sergeant Johnson one of them?
Yeah. He's lucky.
Oh. Okay.
The whole idea was to create the best soldier possible that could take on insurrectionists before they could truly flourish, while also being slightly more subtle than just nuking the entire planet. In case you think I'm exaggerating that one to keep the 40k audience listening, no, I am not. They did that at least once. Shout out to Far Isle for being humanity's first exterminationist planet. Ultimately, the Orion...
nuked the entire planet. They nuked the entire planet.
Huh. I did not know that, actually.
Huh. I did not know that either. What the hell? Oh, that's news to me.
Project was a failure, only creating slightly better soldiers instead of gods of war. But the lessons learned did lead to the ODSTs being brought into the limelight once more. Their training and equipment was revamped and brought up to modern standards, and they were deployed against the insurrectionist forces on missions where the standard Marine just wouldn't cut it. The Orion Project also had the other small side effect of leading to several dozen kidnapped children down the line, but that's neither here nor there. The ODSTs, as always, performed admirably against the Innies, but unfortunately for the UNSC, they just weren't enough, which is also, unfortunately, going to be kind of a running theme with the ODSTs. That was the entire goal of the Spartan program, in fact, to create super soldiers that could quell the insurrection before it threatened to send humanity back to the Dark Ages in a no-holds-barred civil war. Whether or not that was something that would have actually happened is up for debate, but important people were afraid it might, and the ODSTs weren't giving them what they wanted in preventing it. The UNSC and ONI wanted a super soldier that could eat bullets and take out an insurrectionist cell before anyone on the outside knew it existed. A soldier whose standard operating procedure is to come screaming out of orbit directly on top of your house is not that. They'd kill the insurrectionist, of that there is no doubt. They'd also leave a trail of rather bitter colonists in their wake, ready to start shit once the troops left. Of course, you probably know what comes next. Your destruction is the will of the gods, we will cleanse you all in holy flame, death to the heretics who sully the holy grounds we so rightfully deserve. The Covenant have shown up and are ready to make their existence humanity's...
I like they brought in the frickin' Imperium and, of course, the Grey Knights somehow. Is he alluding to that they're like the Grey Knights? Maybe. I need to play more, I need to play more Demon Killer, or Demon Hunter. I actually need to play it all. Buy me the game, people! I'm kidding, but,
No, give me the game, not Matt.
You don't even know what the game is!
Only Azul.
Oh my god, you don't even need the game. But yeah, we have the Covenant and their main force, the Elites. The Elites are probably the best fighters they have. Jackals might be good snipers, but they're not nearly as good as Elites.
I just need free stuff, man. Zul demands free stuff.
Oh my god. Well, I want free stuff too. That's why I have a throne filled of just crap I want.
Zool.
But no one ever gets me that stuff, so it's fine.
Only Zool.
Oh my god. Anyway, let's head into this, guys.
Problem. Very quickly did the priorities of the ODSTs and the UNSC as a whole switch focus, going from handling insurrectionist threats to being deployed against the Covenant wherever they showed up. And
Yeah,
while I feel I'm
sounds
going to
about
keep
right.
repeating this, make no mistake, the ODSTs served with distinction during the conflict. Early on in the war, for example, was the Battle of Hat Yai. The Covenant had done their
Oh.
usual thing of slaughtering most of the civilian population and later established a base on the planet, presumably to hunt for foreigner artifacts, but who knows, maybe it was going to be a grunt zoo or something. In response, 100 ODSTs were dropped nearby to deal with them. Despite a
Oh.
dozen ODSTs being either shot down or killed in landing accidents, the base was taken with 0 casualties.
Nice work.
Just to emphasize how insane this is, during the actual combat, not a single ODST was lost to the Covenant
Wow.
forces. They rolled up,
That's
dragged their balls
insane.
across Covey chins, and took the base. Of course, if you're familiar with how the Human Covenant War went, you can probably guess what this ultimately amounted to.
Nothing.
Somewhere between fuck and all. In space,
Yeah.
Covenant reinforcements arrived, and the UNSC ships in orbit went from barely hanging on to Jesus Christ, we need to get the hell out of here now. No
Yeah.
matter how good a soldier or pilot you are, you can't really outfight a glassing beam. Nevertheless, UNSC
Yeah,
forces
better
were able
gear.
to evacuate the ODSTs, dropping a nuke on the remaining Covenant for good measure. Of course, Hat Yai was still glass, but hey, the ODSTs look good. What's a planet compared to a propaganda piece? This sort of trend continued on throughout the war. At the Battle of New Jerusalem, a UNSC force was nearly complete.
New Jerusalem. God damn with these names. I did not expect to hear a place named New Jerusalem. But,
I mean, everything, everything related to Halo is really religious based, so it makes sense.
I know.
Annihilated by the Covenant, but the ODST Carlo Hoya managed to rescue several high-ranking officers in spite of being captured
Nice.
himself. We'll briefly come back to him later on. On Arcadia, ODST forces were key in allowing much of the civilian populace to be evacuated, although you were probably too busy swearing at Red Team to shoot down just a single Banshee to notice that happening.
Where are we going?
Although you were probably too... Arcadia, ODST forces
Arcadia.
were key in allowing much of the civilian populace
Oh,
to
wait,
be
this is from This is from the Halo Wars games.
evacuated, although you were probably too busy
Yeah.
swearing at Red Team to shoot
Ah,
down just a
I was
single
wondering
Banshee
what he
to
meant by
notice
that.
that happening.
Yeah.
And my fellow Halo Legends fans will know that
Oh, yeah.
ODSTs were crucial in assassinating a minor prophet, as one of them was the soldier that ultimately took the killing shot after the accompanying Spartan was mortally wounded by a brute chieftain. Relatedly, Cal-141, my beloved. Thank you, the babysitter, for rewriting my brain chemistry. Speaking of,
Oh my
however,
God.
the ODSTs had a rather tense relationship with the Spartans. It started when the Master Chief killed 4 of them in a training ring after
Wait,
they
what?
tried to shove them around, not realizing that Spartans are to ODSTs what ODSTs are to toddlers. Whereas the average soldier generally looked at the Spartans with awe, reverence, and dread, the ODSTs were much more competitive. There was a bitterness against the Spartans from the ODSTs that came about from equal parts jealousy over their reputation and a plain old competitive spirit. After all, you've got to have at least a little bit of a hot streak to willingly drop from orbit into a firefight.
I just realized what they're kind of like. They're kind of like fighter plane pilots, which they usually are a bit, from what I've heard, a bit crazy and don't really, and think they're invincible in a way. Which usually young men are pilots because they, believe they're invincible and can do anything.
Right.
It's a kind of craziness to it. But you do have to be a bit crazy in order to drop from orbit onto anything in a drop pod. You gotta be more than a little crazy, honestly. But yeah, Fable here likes the ODSTs.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about how Buck was turned into a Spartan 4. We don't like Halo 4, honestly. I don't like Halo 4.
Yeah. I hate 4, 5, and Infinite.
Also, we are going through Halo Reach every Wednesday if you guys want to catch us there. But besides that, let's go.
The ODST Edward Buck once called them
Here we
glory-hungry
go.
bullet catchers, and overall the ODSTs felt rather inferior regarding the Spartans. That's also an
Glory-hungry bullet
ironic statement
catchers.
given what happens to Buck, but again, we'll get to that. Regardless, the ODSTs were still sent on extremely important missions, even if the Spartans were given the worst of them all in spite of the ODSTs' bruised egos. For a general rule of thumb, here's who was sent on what missions. ODSTs were given the brutalest missions a normal person could feasibly carry out. Spartan
Okay.
2s were sent on missions that required something no no mortal could hope to achieve. And
Oh.
the poor Spartan 3s were sent on missions that the ODSTs couldn't complete and the Spartan 2s couldn't complete without dying. Still, it wasn't all one-sided rivalries. ODSTs working alongside Spartans frequently came to respect their skill in battle.
Makes
Hard not
sense.
to after seeing one of them flip a warthog over and then punch a wraith to death. While it wasn't a universal thing by any means, ODSTs who fight alongside their super soldier comrades often came to, if nothing else, appreciate that they were on the same side against an alien alliance that wanted their complete destruction.
It's brotherhood.
Once again, Cal 141, my beloved. You cannot understand how badly I want to be this ODST. And
Oh my lord.
He wants his muscle mommy, Fable.
I know.
Fable doesn't like
I
muscle
know.
mommies, though.
I think they're lovely. I'm just not into them like the rest of the world is.
Listen. I wouldn't mind to have one, just as long as she's nice to me. It doesn't try and push me around. I've been bruised and beaten too many times in life. Okay?
What a baby.
Oh my god. This is coming from you.
What a baby.
This is coming from the one that constantly says cries. Anyway.
What a baby.
Let's head back into us, even with the muscle mommy Spartans. God, I never thought I would be saying these words in my mouth. What is this video doing to me? Anyway, we're gonna keep going.
of course, the ODSTs were present for the final major battles of the war. On Reach, they were just about everywhere as could be expected, deployed as always to missions that normal troops just couldn't quite swing. Chiefly among them being Noble Team's return to Sword Base, because Oni decided they need a Noble Team, and Oni gets what Oni wants. Aside from that, pick a battle during the fall of Reach, you could probably find a couple of ODSTs kicking around there somewhere. And we can't forget about their actions on Earth. I would certainly hope you don't forget about them, because they have a whole goddamn game. Edward Buck and his squad, which I am led to believe is called Alpha 9, was originally part of a task force of ODSTs to board the Prophet of Regret ship via their drop pods. Instead, however, Veronica Dare, who is an Oni agent, takes command of their squad to break into the artificial intelligence that was part of the city's infrastructure. It had critical data, and Oni wanted it. Naturally, Dare did not actually tell Buck or anyone else what they were doing there, or what they were there for, but what can you expect from Oni? At least an Inquisitor will usually tell you why they aren't telling you something. But despite the squad being separated due to the Prophet of Regret tearing a slip space portal directly in the city, they were able to reunite and capture the engineer that had absorbed New Mombassa's AI. And I really feel like the Rookie's missions show you just what ODSTs are capable of, even if you know the ultimate reason he kicks so much ass is because he's an FPS protagonist. ODSTs aren't jumping onto Covenant artillery with energy shields and billions of dollars worth of equipment and augmentations. They're special forces operatives. They creep through the shadows, have the best training, and know what they need to do to get a given job done. As much as they can go in screaming on top of the enemy's head, they can also be a surgical tool to get the job done. That's the lesson of Halo 3 ODST.
Really?
That and to make sure you fall for a woman with balls. They're tough and strong, but they're tactically brilliant from the extensive training they go through. Almost makes you understand why a lot of them dislike Spartans. They went on missions nearly as dangerous and still got them done, but Halsey's test tube babies got the propaganda all to themselves. And we will stop talking about the Rookie and everyone except for Buck in this video because their story ends here. The Rookie is not killed in a book. Mickey is not a traitorous weasel who sold his squad out. The story ends there, and that's that. ODST.
How do you... Fable's actually the one that knows the story, so I think he's happy now.
What?
Did you hear what he said?
Kind of, yes.
Oh my god. Fable, what is wrong with you?
Because their story ends here. The Rookie is not killed in a book. Mickey is not a traitorous weasel who sold his squad out. The story ends there, and that's that. ODSTs also served alongside the human
that's where it ends. The Rookie went on to do his own thing and lead his own squad. The book doesn't exist because the writer who wrote it is a piece of shit. You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't know what the writer was thinking. It doesn't make much sense overall. And, like, I could easily rewrite it to make it better, so I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. I understand writers have a specific guideline on what they're supposed to do for a story, but if a story basically makes it so that you know you have to basically take some characters and pretty much destroy them, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, what the hell's the point? You're just the character assassination is not necessary or even real.
It's not worth it at times, but yeah, let's head into it.
and prevent Truth from activating the rings, as
Yeah,
well as the
they were in
Flood from
part of
making
this.
the galaxy for a second time. And as always, yeah, they did good. Fought the Covenant good, had to stand next to Master Chief so the eyes weren't on them, but by that point they were fighting the Covenant and zombies on a solar system-sized construct outside the Milky Way. I can't imagine many of them were feeling bitter about being shown up by the Chief, given the circumstances.
I
Now,
don't think
post-war is
anyone
where
would.
things get rather interesting, not because there was any particular change in their doctrine, they remained the ODSTs they had been, but instead, the ODSTs have yet another competitor to their ranks, the Spartan 4s. But the 4s are unlike the previous generations of Spartans, or rather they were more like the original generation of Spartans. Rather than Oni either practicing eugenics or scooping up random orphans from the streets and turning them into gods, these Spartans are volunteer forces from either accomplished veterans or younger candidates who show promise. Edward Buck and Carlo Hoya, themselves both exemplary ODSTs, now serve the UNSC as Spartan 4s. The Spartan 4s are now direct competitors of the ODSTs, both being volunteer special forces branches composed of already existing soldiers. So now the ODSTs are in danger of being shown up by Spartans who are themselves soldiers who could have become an ODST instead. Halo unfortunately hasn't really expanded on this very much in favor of trying to pretend Halo 5 never existed and also trying to pretend the Endless are interesting. But going forward in the universe, I imagine two things will...
Yeah, the Endless aren't that interesting as a villain. What Fable?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
We haven't even gotten much interest, and we haven't gotten anything about them as a thing. But yeah, the Endless just seems stupid and a whole lot of 343's butts. You know, it just feels like they're like, how do we add something to make this even worse? Pulls this out of butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. Like, you know why the Covenant are fighting. We don't know why these idiots are fighting.
Right.
Will come of it. One is that the rivalry between the groups will continue in either a more or less heated manner. Could become less extreme because Spartan 4s are now super soldiers rather than super kidnap victims or super orphans of war, and would probably know how to interact with the ODSTs. Plenty of them were ODSTs before becoming Spartans, so that might ease tensions a bit. But it could become worse because now the Spartan program is actively poaching potential and existing ODSTs. And two is that eventually ODSTs might be phased out. As dismissive as you might think it is, Spartans are just better than them. As the Spartan program becomes more widespread and it becomes much easier to produce and maintain them, ODSTs might fall to the wayside, much the way modern militaries generally don't perform cavalry charges anymore. That's not necessarily a guarantee. ODSTs could always exist as a place for soldiers with the dedication but not the ability to become a Spartan.
Or they could just not want to be a Spartan.
Future could be a stepping stone to becoming a Spartan. But I don't think it's much of a stretch to imagine that as Spartans become more and more widespread, ODSTs will be phased out. Or that won't happen, because at the rate Halo is going, Halo 7 is never going to happen, and Halo devs have confirmed they've axed countless Halo games, some of which were based around ODSTs. Remember in the 2000s when every single new FPS to come out was called the Halo Killer and then forgotten in months? Damn shame the actual Halo Killer turned out to be Halo. Now before we...
Yeah, that's sad. I'm sad that we didn't have more ODST games. What the hell? People would have loved that.
Wrap up, let's take a look at what makes
all you have to do is go back in time.
As I said before, it's an all-volunteer program, which makes sense, because forcing someone with either claustrophobia or a fear of heights into a small metal coffin that falls from orbit is a great way to get yourself a soldier who dies of a heart attack. The initial training only lasts 3 weeks, since everyone went through basic, and while it does help the soldiers get fitter, it mostly just exists to see if they're tough enough to go on ODST grade missions. It does have exercises involving the potential ODSTs falling from great heights to prepare themselves for an orbit drop, though that may just be an excuse for drill instructors to push cadets off a cliff. After this, the training becomes focused on preparing the ODSTs for squad-based deployments. There aren't any lone wolves in the orbital drop shock troopers. You're part of a squad and you damn well better act like it. The training they go through is of course just as tough as the physical training from before, but now you have to get used to working with the bastards.
A meme I found about 40K.
You've been forced together with. Tactical training rounds are commonly used, which for those not aware are rounds that not only act as an anesthetic, but also harden the clothing you wear on impact. It's done to simulate actually getting shot, forcing you to limp on a leg hit by a TTR as if you've actually been shot by a live round.
That's really
impressive. You don't just pass out, the anesthetic's not exactly a low-grade thing, and it is being fired at you from a gun. After this comes the final stretch of training, tactical training. You've proven your body can handle the ringer the UNSC is going to put it through, you've proven you can work with a team without ripping someone's throat out, now it's time to actually learn how to fight a war like an ODST. There's even a unit of ODST whose main purpose is just this,
Training
the
them.
340th ODST Combat Training Unit. Their whole deal is setting up training exercises for
Oh.
other UNSC
Well, enough
special
the real
forces to
military
go
has
through,
something like
as well as
that.
teaching others about Covenant combat
Well, the US
tactics.
military does.
You can safely assume two things. These guys are going to put you through hell, and they presumably get their asses kicked a whole lot whenever someone remembers Spartans are Spec Ops units and can do with a refresher or something like that. The ODSTs
Yeah.
are then, as before, given tactical training that makes what the rest of the UNSC
Ooh.
forces go through look like a
Cool.
joke, and by the time it's finished, you have the best soldier a normal person could possibly hope to be. At
You
any
have the
time, but
peak of the
especially
peak,
during the first
without
3 weeks of physical
augmentations.
training, an ODST could be RTU'd, returned to unit. It's exactly what you think it is. The soldiers will drop out of ODST training and return to whatever position they had before. There's
Ah.
no penalties for this. It's not like they discharge the soldier because they failed Special Forces school, but it is generally seen as pretty humiliating. There's
Yeah,
also
that
the
makes
ODST
sense.
Special Purpose Forces, given additional training in specific
Oh, the
areas.
bullfrogs.
The best example of this is from Halo Reach. When you're flying around on your jump pack in New Alexandria, those ODSTs flying next to you are air assault units, or bullfrogs, soldiers with extra training specifically for that kind of scenario. There's plenty of other areas they can be trained in as well, from explosives to sniping. Their armor is, as always,
Funny enough, we just got to that part, guys, so yeah, we met the bullfrogs. Anyway.
ODSTs, the best of the best, short of being Mjolnir armor. It's tougher than standard marine armor, being composed of titanium to keep them alive that much longer.
Ah.
The helmet, aside from being the single coolest design in all of science fiction, also has a heads-up display, motion trackers, and the visor system. It allows the
Oh.
ODST to receive navigational data, store any data they receive on a mission, and even the ability to access certain systems in a given area. If an ODST happens to be operating in, let's say, an abandoned city that's under attack by the Covenant, they can access cameras, basic security systems, and whatnot to
Cool.
make their
So
lives
that's
that
how they
much
do that in
easier.
the game.
The armor has heating and cooling systems built in as well, to prevent the soldier from either freezing to death or boiling alive in their armor. It's also vacuum sealed and can be used in outer space.
Huh.
15-minute time limit, mind, but that's 15 minutes longer than any of us can survive in outer space,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to begrudge them for it. As for their general behavior, ODSTs are an odd bunch. For one, around themselves there are a whole bunch of clowns, laughing, joking, smacking each other in the face with rifle butts to wake each other up from a nap. Thank you for that, Romeo. You single-handedly ensured there can be no zero-damage ODST run. Not that I'm insane enough to try it. When normal soldiers
my
come
God.
around, though, they usually clam up quick. They become silent, barely talking to the soldiers in question, and are frequently outright hostile towards them. They go through hell and know that normal Marines either couldn't or wouldn't complete the same thing, so they're certainly an arrogant bunch. Goes a long way
Makes
towards
sense.
explaining why they're so bitter towards the Spartans, seeing them, as Buck mentioned, as a bunch of glory-stealing bullet eaters. To be entirely fair, it's not like Oni Amber alerting random children off the street was common knowledge. I imagine they'd be at
Yeah.
least a little bit more sympathetic towards the Spartans if they knew that fun little nugget of information. They're also not the fondest of authority. They're not going to be insubordinate to a higher officer, but, you know, maybe in the heat of battle an ODST's radio gets jammed or broken, and he can't follow the commands the guy in charge has given him. Accidents happen, after all. Nothing you can do about it. They
Oh
do
my
respect
God.
the leaders of their squad, though, given that they know the guy went
Yeah,
through the same
makes
training they
sense.
did. Plus, they believe that officers should lead by example from the front, to the point that it's standard operating procedure for the drop pod of the ODST in charge to hit the ground first. And for
Oh.
non-ODST officers that particularly impress a group of them, they might just give the guy a kanji tattoo. Far from
What?
saying something like peace or love or whatever crap you can find tattooed on some college idiot, the kanji here means either bastard or badass. They don't have two different kanji depending on who they're tattooing. The meaning entirely depends on which ODST you ask. If the
Huh.
receiving officer happens to show that tattoo to an ODST, it basically signals to the soldier that this dude knows their stuff and you can accept they're in charge for a reason. That little nugget
Makes
of
sense.
information comes from the Cole Protocol book,
Oh.
that you might have forgotten about it in favor of remembering Grey Team dropping a star on an alien colony. One of
Oh.
those was a cool world-building moment, the other is a war crime that gets a pass from being a war crime only because the war had already ended. The Arbiter did
Oh.
forgive them, though, probably because he knows you shouldn't throw stones from a glass house. They're, as you
Oh.
can probably guess, incredibly proud of what they do. The training they go through is no joke, and they know damn well they're going on the toughest missions around. And as much as their cocky, dismissive attitude towards normal soldiers and the jealousy of the Spartans might rub you the wrong way, I'd say they've earned it. The
Yeah.
casualty rates for ODSTs is something closer to the Imperial Guard, so if nothing else, if
Oh,
it bothers you
damn.
that much, they're probably not going to be around long enough to annoy you for very long. And that's the lore of the Hell
Damn.
Jumpers. Sure, they aren't as good as the Spartans Halo loves to show around, but you can be damn sure they'll get the job they're sent on done no matter the odds. As always, thank you to my wonderful channel members. You are the support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become
Let's
a
see
member.
what he has to say
Either
at
way,
the end.
thank you for watching, and take care out there.
All units.
What? Oh! He's playing Halo Wars. I need to replay this. They're taking down a base. Well, I didn't expect that. So, what did you think about what you learned about the ODSTs, Fable?
I think they're perfect for me because one, they don't listen to authority. They make jokes off the mission, and then the mission they lock in. It's perfect.
Perfect for you? Do we need to get the
Yeah.
design of you in ODST outfit?
I mean, if you want to get that for my birthday, I wouldn't mind.
When is your birthday?
January 22nd, actually. So in about 2-ish weeks, give or take.
I'll see what I can do.
I mean, you don't have to this month. I mean, you
No,
do
I'm
have
listening.
to now.
I
Chat,
do have
he's
to.
doing it now.
Oh my god. I didn't even
Not for
say
my
anything.
birthday, but just in general. Chat, you heard him. He's gonna get me a gift. Not for my birthday, but for this year.
What?
That's a thing now.
When did
Too
that become
bad.
a thing?
It's on the different. It just did.
Oh my god.
But for reals though, my birthday is actually this month.
Okay.
It's on a Wednesday.
Alright, well...
Also, apparently, for those of you that are interested in D&D, I know it's off topic, but apparently kobolds are now considered dragons.
I thought they were always little dragon people.
Yeah, they're technically, in the book, they're technically classified as humanoids, but now they're officially classified as dragons.
Cool. Does that change anything at all?
Just the fact that people might still draw them, but with more draconic features like wings, giant tails. But you know the usual, just people are weird and people
Anyway.
love kobolds for all the weird reasons.
Thank you all so much. If you like what we're doing here, please do consider liking, following, and subscribing, and we'll gladly watch more. And yeah, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.